Hey you dusty woodworkers, how are you doing today? Today we're going to identify table saw parts. So I have my little pointy stick so I can be pointing at things. Table saw. And of course, what's this? Well, this is the table. You can't have a table saw without a table. Over here, this is called your fence. The fence allows your stock or your piece of wood to slide through the saw blade. Over here, this is our... what's it called? Oh yeah, our guard. Behind our guard, ooh, a little dark, I'll come over here. This is our splitter. The splitter keeps the board apart as the saw blade's cutting it. If we zoom in, you see this guy here? That's our anti-kickback dog. Or a kickback dog. Or dog. Well, no, it's not a dog. It's just anti-kickback fingers or a dog. I call it a kickback dog. When you put a board through, it goes through, and then if it was supposed to come back, those fingers would grab onto your board and it doesn't hopefully fly back at you. But a lot of times, ooh, look, it grabbed. But a lot of times they get in the way. So some machines have little itty bitty baby dogs up here like the ones at school. Mine here at home, it just has a big one. If we take this off, kablam! We look. Oh look, there's a blade. A table saw can't be a table saw without a saw blade. So that's our saw blade. The red thing here, that means danger, danger, danger. So our fingers really don't touch that or go by it. It can, but you really, really shouldn't. That is our table insert. If this is our table, this is inserted in the table, that's our table insert. We can take that in and out so we can change the blade to a different blade or access inside the actual machine. If you notice, we have some slots right here. Those are our miter gauge slots. Those are for a miter gauge. What's a miter gauge, you may ask? Well, it's a very good question. I'm glad you asked. That's a miter gauge. A miter gauge helps me to actually do a cross cut. So if I didn't have a miter saw, I can use this guy to help me cut straight across the grain. Table saws like ripping with the grain, meaning the way the tree grew. This likes to go across the grain, kind of like what a chainsaw does. The miter gauge can change angles too. So if I wanted to cut something at an angle, a miter gauge can do that. So we have miter gauge slots. What else do we have on a table saw? We have our little ruler here. I'm almost at 13 inches. It doesn't do anything. It tells me how big I make my cut. But in real life, I use a tape measure. This table over here, this is just a side support table. Back here, this is an outfeed table. Some people might say this is an infeed table because I'm going into the blade. And some people say this is an outfeed table because I'm coming out from the blade. Does it really matter? Not too much. But this is a table, that's a table. Infeed table, outfeed table, support table. Underneath, we have, you better know what this is. If you don't know what this is, don't touch the saw. This is our on and off button. On is green, off is red, kind of standard. Most table saws have two wheels on them. One adjusts the height of my blade. So if you notice, my blade is sticking up, maybe a good inch and a quarter. This wheel adjusts it up and down. This little guy here, this keeps the wheel tight. So if I don't want this wheel to move, I can tighten this. So this tightens my up and down wheel or my blade depth wheel. This wheel over here is my blade angle hand wheel. This adjusts my angle, which is right here. I have a little gauge. Oh, you can see right there. It's just a little bit past 0. Does that mean my blade's at 0 or a little bit past 0? For me, I know my blade's at true 0 or perpendicular to my table. I know what the gauge says. The gauge says I'm not at 0, but I know my table saw better than you. Don't you judge me. This, of course, is the base of the table saw. So there's lots and lots of different parts of the table saw. Why is it important to know? Most important is in case something breaks, you know what it is. You can get it fixed, or you can tell somebody, hey, this isn't working. We need to fix it. And they're going to ask you, what isn't working? And you're going to sound like an educated type of person because you know what the parts are. So, thanks for watching about the different parts on the table saw, and we'll see you next time. Amen.